seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see.
For many of us, Oblivion is more than just a game. It's a memory of a sprawling world that we got lost in. For me, stepping into Cyrodiil for the first time felt like I was entering a dream. The heavy bloom, the vivid colors, every corner of that unique world, from the goblins to the unicorn, felt alive and magical. But with the remaster of Oblivion for a new generation, did they manage to preserve that magic? And more importantly, is this now the definitive version of the game? We've seen a lot of remasters and remakes lately. Some, like the Tomb Raider remasters, are done perfectly. On the other hand, you have some that are nothing more than a performance boost, like The Last of Us 2. Oblivion could already run at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X, and it still looked the same as the original Xbox 360 version, which was a masterpiece for its time, even with all of its awkwardness. But this remaster is something more. It's not just resolution or texture enhancement. It's a complete graphical reworking of the game, while keeping the core content intact and only polishing a few things that need it. My earliest memories of Oblivion are filled with a sense of pure freedom in Cyrodiil. It genuinely felt like my choices had impact. There was always something new to discover, something to do. You could craft your own story, join the Dark Brotherhood, become the greatest thief, steal from anyone, or you could even embrace the curse of vampirism, where the sun would become your enemy, forcing you to play the game only at nighttime. That gameplay and that feeling of limitless possibilities is what hooked me and so many others. Even back then though, that gameplay was not without its interruptions. It had performance issues, constant loading screens. Even while traversing the open world, the game would pause and have to load. And Oblivion was probably directly responsible for a significant chunk of the 4 out of 6 Xbox 360s I went through during those years. It pushed the hardware to its limits, and sometimes that hardware just couldn't handle it. With the remaster, the visuals were what I expected to be the biggest challenge. Using Unreal Engine 5 is ambitious. While the engine does have performance issues, they are mostly managed pretty well here. Loading times are incredibly fast. The visual difference is drastic to say the least, but it's no longer the original art style. It's more realistic, with neutral colors. And while it is an incredibly beautiful game, there's something about it that doesn't hit me the same way that the original's vibrant and colorful world did. A great way to describe it would be to say that the original Oblivion style was more like the movie Legend. Dreamlike, vivid with that fantasy look. The new remaster, however, looks more like Excalibur. A gritty, muted, harsher kind of realism. The Ayleid Ruins, for instance, are more detailed than ever before, but they feel less magical without that signature bloom and vividness. And it goes to show that sometimes art style has a far greater impact on how a game feels and how memorable it is. For me to say that this would be the truly definitive edition, I think they should have included visual options to achieve that Legend aesthetic. Even something just as simple as a filter effect, enhanced bloom, or more particles in the atmosphere. Something that would push for a more vibrant than rather neutral look. The game's characters even got a massive overhaul, and they are great and terrible in the best possible way. Chasing realism ends up making Joffrey look like Bugs Bunny. Look at them buck teeth, goofy looking. Another key area for the remaster is the user interface. I have to say that the new UI is a bit of a miss for me. It feels clunky and less organized compared to the original, which is surprising. Honestly, they would have been better off just taking inspiration from Skyrim's UI, which was simpler and just flowed better. Skyrim's streamlined inventory offered clearer map markers and made hotkey management more accessible. The new interface feels like it was designed more for a mouse and keyboard than a controller, with simple tab layouts on a static screen. The combat system has also received some improvements. There are more responsive reactions from the enemies when they are hit, and instead of the constant swinging, each weapon now has some distinct combos. It adds a bit of depth to the combat and makes the moment-to-moment fighting just a bit more engaging, especially when hitting an enemy, because now you get a little bit more than just that classic grunting sound. One of my favorite things about the original was the leveling system. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I loved its goofiness. The game leveled up as you played, based on what you were doing, which allowed for you to kind of cheat the system and get stronger than you should be, but this is Oblivion, So, as you level up, the enemies level up with you, unlocking more difficult and different versions of the enemies. For me, this is one of the best parts of the game. It keeps things interesting. You go from tiny minotaurs to giant ones, and even creatures that look like King K. Rool from Donkey Kong Country. And the remaster keeps that system intact. They also kept the audio the same. It's the same voice acting with no changes, and it's exactly how it should be. Just as weird and charming as it was back then. Also, the music and the sounds of Cyrodiil are still here, and they are an incredible experience. If you have never played Oblivion, walking through its world and hearing that music as the sun sets over the mountains is one of the best experiences you can have in gaming. There was nothing like wandering through a massive forest with spriggans or seeing giant weeping willows swaying in the heavy rainfall. Oblivion is a magical world that feels alive. So, for everybody wondering if Oblivion Remaster is a great game to pick up, the answer is yes, and I highly recommend it. I believe it was remade to future-proof the game for modern and future hardware with tech like ray tracing, ensuring that this classic can stand the test of time. Overall, despite my critiques of the visual approach and the UI, the Oblivion Remaster is amazing. It's truly a recreation of the original with some enhancements. And while it doesn't look as overly fantasy as it did before, the magic is still there. There's nothing like the sunset coming through the trees, or the snow falling on Cloud Ruler Temple, or just gazing upon the haunting ruins of Kvatch in the distance. Thanks for watching, and if you want, would you kindly leave a like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.